Hey, beautiful asexual people and hot pieces of ace. It's DJ. I am finally in possession of a life that's a little bit less insane, and so I thought I would come back in and make another video and maybe hopefully make a couple more in the next few weeks. I wanted to start by making a couple quick announcements that I'm super excited about. And then I'm going to go into a topic that a lot of people have been talking about that I think is really important. So the announcement is that the movie that a lot of people helped donate to edit is almost done editing. I just had a conversation with Angela, the director. She is really excited about it. She's shopping it around to different film festivals, and once it gets into a film festival, that's going to be the premiere date. And then she's going to do the rest of the schedule around getting it ready for then. I haven't seen it yet. I'm setting up a date to sort of get on Facebook chat with her and watch it and chat with her at the same time. And she's like super curious about what I think and what the asexual community in general is going to think about it. She says that the real message of the movie is that asexual people aren't that different from anyone else. That a lot of what we're going through is the same as what everyone else is going through, just without sexuality. And she thinks that that's really the message that, which I think it's a good message to get across. Like, that's going to get people to understand what this is, and so or understand asexuality in a broader sense. I think it's going to be an awesome education tool. And one of the things I've been talking with her about and with the PT about is maybe once the movie comes out, having people that want to set up like viewing parties on college campuses or just in their living rooms so people can watch the movie and talk about asexuality. And it might be a really good way for people that maybe don't want to get up and give a whole big presentation by themselves on asexuality to be able to have an event where you talk about it. So it's all really exciting. The other exciting piece of news is just that I had a meeting with the project team that was super inspiring. This project team is totally badass, and they are have a couple of things they're planning that I can't talk about, but that you should all begin to get really excited about because they're really cool. All right. So what I wanted to talk about is the whole unassailable asexual, gold star asexual discussion, which I think I'm so glad that it's happening, that this discussion is happening. And I'm very, I've been wanting to kind of comment for a while and just been too busy running around. And I'm glad it's happening. I feel like this is a little bit my fault that our community has this idea, though I think that it's something that a lot of communities have. So when I was, the way that the unassailable asexual gold star image started, or one of the ways it started, was when I was sitting there and we were getting requests from reporters to do stories about asexuality, and I was saying to myself, crap, how can I sort of project the image of an asexual person that people will not be able to debate? The people will accept. And I kind of looked at myself and I was like, okay, I've got, some stuff that's going to make it easier for people to accept asexuality about me. Like, I'm male and I'm young and I'm conventionally attractive and I look like someone who could get laid if I wanted to, and, all these other things. And I'm confident and outgoing. So I can, they won't necessarily equate being asexual with being asocial. I'm also aromantic, and that was a barrier that came up. I think it made it a little bit harder, but not always harder, to talk about asexuality in the press. And then I kind of got up and I projected this image of an asexual person who was conventionally attractive and very socially outgoing, and sort of sidestepped a lot of the objections that people can hurl at asexual people in the way that I presented myself. And in doing that, I think it was good because it got a lot of people to accept asexuality and understand it who otherwise might not have. But it was also a problem because it didn't resolve a lot of those questions, and it put an image out to the asexual community of what an empowered asexual person might look like that isn't accessible to everybody, right? Like, I think that as a community, we sort of know how to stand up in front of the press and be me and be a handful of other like asexual people and be like empowered and on it and raw and happy. And that's this unassailable asexual image. But that's not most people in the asexual community, right? Like most people in the asexual community have other stuff going on that we haven't figured out how to talk about in the public in an empowered way, which is even more of a problem, because if we can't talk about being asexual and having a history of sexual abuse in public in an empowered way, or we can't talk about being asexual and not being conventionally attractive in an empowered way in the public, then it's that much harder to talk about it in our own community. Where it's really, really important. It's important to talk about it in the public, but it's especially important to talk about it in our own community, because, yes, being asexual and not being conventionally attractive should be really, really empowering, because you know what? We have less reason to care, right? Like, we're connecting with people more based on the power of our personalities, and we have more freedom than a lot of sexual people do to kind of live, not have to worry about connecting with people if we don't want to, or connect with people in ways that have everything to do with like hiking and painting, and are less about sort of our bodies and how they look. And so I think that we really should be celebrating that stuff. And the way to, celebrating being attractive in ways that are totally unconventional but totally asexy. We should be celebrating all that stuff. And what it's going to take to celebrate it is a little bit people like me, when we get up in front of the press, we get up in public, sort of acknowledging that there's other ways to be empowering and be asexual, right? So to maybe tell some stories about, okay, here's what it looks like to be an asexual that has a history of sexual abuse, that has dealt with that history in a really empowered way, and constructed an asexual identity that allows them to deal with that history in a really empowered way. Or here's what it looks like to be an asexual person that's totally asocial and also really happy and really empowered. Or here's what it looks like to be an asexual person who's not really happy and empowered yet, who's struggling and figuring stuff out, but you know what? That's what everyone does, and that's an important part of life. And like, here's what that process looks like, and how as asexual people we handle that well. So one part is for people like me to get up and tell those stories, but I think that the much more important part is for the people who are living those stories to get up and tell them in a way, and to talk about what that experience is like, in a way that allows us to be comfortable talking about it, allows us to be comfortable talking about it in the public, and allows us to be comfortable talking about it with one another. And that's a really scary thing to do. I want to acknowledge that. Like taking something that everyone else is like thinks is a little bit not cool, or a little bit shameful, and getting up and being like, you know what, I'm not ashamed of this, I'm comfortable talking about it in public. That's really scary. That's what we had to do when we started talking about asexuality. But I think that we need to start doing that around kind of all of the diverse stories in the asexual community. And that's what Hot Pieces of Ace is doing, which is why I love it. That's what I think we need to be doing more of in the press, as we continue to get press. And I think that that's what's going to begin to break down this notion of a gold star unassailable asexual. Because the only thing that makes an unassailable asexual unassailable is that that we've gotten up and made the case about why we're unassailable, and made the case about why we're okay. And I think that I want to challenge more people to stand up and to do that, because I think it's one of the most important things that can happen in our community. And I'm done soapboxing now, and I love all of you, and thanks.